there's nothing left for me to hate, so I can lay me down, my brothers, on the ground. I bled today until Coyote comes to raise me up and carries me
Good evening, all. Welcome to the Scottish Rugby Podcast. I am the host tonight. I'm John Anderson. Cammy is not with us. He's let me loose. I don't know. I feel like I'm developing his trust, Craig.
I don't know how, but you're managing it.
It's like almost like Ali Price or Greg. It's more like Greg Laidlaw with Finn Russell, the calm, steadying father figure to the Maverick fly half. It's obviously I do my best to not get a shut down, but sometimes we steer a wee bit close to the line. It's all good, right? So we are one crossfield kick away from getting shut down tonight. Anywho, join me tonight as we've no doubt indicated. Craig, how are you?
I'm well, yeah, not bad at all. Just getting through the week as we always do.
Getting through the week, that is the only way to do it. I've got we've got lots of content tonight, Craig. First of all, we'll get the housekeeping out of the way, as per what we always do on these online calls. So if you could raise your hand, that's the wrong ones. We have, I'll get the banner up because I always forget to put this up. Yes, head over to scottishrugbyblog.co.uk for any of the latest articles that go up there. Craig, you do some match reports for the Edinburgh games, which have been quite well received.
That's awful nice of everyone to receive them nicely.
I enjoyed them. I thought they were really good. We also have a Patreon page if you enjoy the content that you see here or want to see a little bit extra with added swearies, where we do our people that have been with us a while remember used to do Hands of the Ruck free to air, but like all the best sporting programs, we've moved it onto premium pay for TV. So if you go over to patreon.com, you can support us for £3 a month, get yourself into the Richie Vernon Thunderdome, or £5 a month. I notice Cam doesn't say the names of the places as often as he used to. £5
no, he
a month
doesn't.
Gets you into the Doogie Donley members lounge, where you'll be greeted. I can't actually say that for trading standards, but you will not be greeted by the great man himself, because we don't know where he is. We found him briefly, but we still don't know where he's hiding out these days. That usually, after we kind of got past the whole being sponsored stage, that usually would be the end of the plugging things. However, we have some exciting news, Craig.
Exciting, very exciting.
Very exciting news. So, our super secret Patreons are aware of this, but makes it sound like some sort of Illuminati, doesn't it? The super secret Patreons. But we are proud to announce in conjunction with Three Bricks Events, we will be hosting live podcasts during the Six Nations coming up at the Biscuit Factory in Edinburgh. This will be it'll be a great day out. There seems to be lots of activities planned, and yes, we will be there. Your favourite podcast hosts will be there doing a live show. For details on all this, you head over to the blog, Scottish Rugby Pod at Twitter. Cammie's been posting some stuff up on there. However, there is a chance to win 2 tickets to this. So please head over to Scottish Rugby Pod. So it's just at Scott Rugby Pod. And you'll get some information on there. Details of the tickets will be announced on the 1st of December, which is fast approaching. So you can make your plans to come and say hello to your favourite podcast hosts. Maybe even, don't bring things to throw, but, just like bring a good attitude, maybe some nice patter or something, and you'll get to see us in action live. As I said, that is the Biscuit Factory over in Leith. That is over the sunny side of the country, Craig, eh?
It's going to be lovely as well. I'm looking forward to welcoming some Weege over the beautiful city. So it'll be interesting. But if there is anyone is thinking about bringing stuff to throw at the podcast, please make sure it's either cakes or sweets. That'd be happy.
Absolutely, yes. We actively encourage cakes and sweets. Do we need our passports to come over to that side of the country, Craig?
Just your vaccine passports. That's about it.
And we will put details of that closer to the event. So the first one will be 5th of February, where the Scotland play England. We'll start to announce more and more details. We're going to plug this as we go. You'll get to hear the various podcasters that will be at the various events. And yeah, just really, really exciting. Looking forward to kind of doing this in person. And then you get to see behind the scenes a wee bit about the epic amount of preparation that goes into this.
Yeah, I'll turn up, have a pint, sit back, and then see who heckles, and that's about it, really.
Pretty much how it goes.
I'm used to Johnny McGinty heckling me all the time, so that's
exactly. Yeah, we are expecting, just to be clear, in the spirit of keeping this very formal, we are expecting no fire alarms today. However, we might see a McGinty appear at some point. So if a wild McGinty appears on your screen at any point, he's invited. He's not just turning up like he does these days. So, okie dokie. I think that is the kind of housekeeping stuff out the road. Shall we do some news?
Let's go for it, because there has been plenty.
There's been plenty of news, hasn't there? So, the biggest news of all. Let's start with the top, the absolute cream of the news. Ewan Ashman has went to Glasgow.
That's amazing. What good business that is. So excited. I'm so excited for Glasgow. That's awesome. Mind you, one thing we did talk about earlier on when we were discussing it in our wee chat that we have is it really does. I wasn't aware that Fraser Brown was that badly injured, but obviously there's a fair bit of backup there for having him, and it's a loan deal at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, so absolutely a loan deal to the end of the season from the Sale Sharks. SRU have worked quite quickly to get that enacted after obviously Ashman made his Scotland bow over the Autumn Internationals. It is. I think universally Scottish rugby fans have been like, "Oh, that's a good bit of business." That I think you're absolutely right. The concern would lie that if Ashman's coming in as a direct replacement for Fraser Brown, who may or may not be out very long term, then it does seem to be. Ewan Ashman's right at the start of his career, and I've got no doubt the guy is going to go on and have a magnificent rugby career. I think he's a very, very talented rugby player. That's a lot of leadership for Glasgow to lose. And yeah, replacement-wise, it's probably one of the best available, but a lot of leadership to lose.
And there's Ewan Ashman has got to, he's got big shoes to fill. Who's going to be able to give away? He's going to have to learn how to give away penalties quite dramatically.
Well, let's be clear. One of Glasgow's latest Barbarians will have, the opportunity to step up into that. So, the next piece of news: Ryan Wilson will be making his Barbarians debut this weekend. Did you see the promo picture?
I saw the promo picture, and it was just Ryan Wilson at his best. And I'm pleased for him, because him and Dave, is it Dave Carney? I think is from Ireland. Is Rob Carney? Sorry.
Dave was the brother that wasn't as good.
Aye, that's true.
That one.
Well, that's it's really good to see these guys get an opportunity to go out and have some fun and But then again, I have noticed that the news has already started leaning an awful lot towards Glasgow.
I mean, well, if you want to bring some Edinburgh news into the fold, Craig, has there been anything happening over your side?
Yeah, we have. That's Emiliano Boffelli joined the squad, and it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. He's a fullback, Argentinian fullback, so we'll wait and see how he gets. He's been picked up training, and we've seen a few pictures of him training, etc. So it'll be interesting to see how we go. So exciting times for us as well, and also the fact that Finlay Christie could well be playing for one of the Scotland teams.
Hold that thought. Hold that. We are going to that. It's going to be a huge event. That's going to be a half-hour pod on its own.
Is it right? Okay.
The dream is not dead, folks.
The dream is not dead.
So let's just park that for a second, because we're coming back to that with a vengeance. First of all, I mean, great signing, yes. Really excited to see more Argentinian players play for the Scottish clubs. However, given that they got absolutely horsed off Ireland, I'm a little bit concerned, like, where Argentinian rugby is at the moment. But yeah, let's get these players over and maybe we'll see how they go. I think Edinburgh's recruitment has been really, like, I've said this a couple of times actually, but it has been really strong actually in the summer. You've picked up a couple of gems, particularly in your backs. So I think it'll be exciting to see how he fits in.
With one glaring omission. We need a 10.
You do need a 10, yeah. You do need. Well, you've got a 10. That's fine.
We've got some fantastic 10s.
You've got Flinghorn,
Yako, and we've got Blair Kinghorn, etc. But we could do with a 10.
I think you could do with a really steady 10 actually, just to kind of keep his.
And seeing as Ross Thompson's not coming along the
wonderfully segued, my friend. Wonderfully segued. Well done. Yes, the triple threat, Triple H himself, Ross Thompson, has signed an extension to his Glasgow contract. In typical Glasgow fashion, they announced it as a new signing, which, we're a bit long in the tooth for that now, guys. So could you stop that, please? Just, I loved the days when they actually had the pen and they done it properly. But a new signing, extension of contract for Ross Thompson, I think it's a really good signing actually to capture him for another however long. They don't disclose these things now. There was rumours of
for the foreseeable future.
That's it. Until the Illuminati let him go. Yeah, again, we should be very clear that that's not what we believe. No, I think there was rumours of English clubs sniffing already for Ross Thompson. He seems to. I think what's impressed me most about him is he's right. So he has a skill set. He's able to do multiple things. His kicking game is very strong. His goal kicking is very strong, which is obviously very useful. He just doesn't seem phased too much. Aside from when he made his debut for Scotland, there was his first moment. There was nerves. He missed something, and after that, he just kind of settled right in. And he seems to just take to these. You see players who have to work to almost accept that next level of responsibility and accept where they are in their career. So thinking about a guy like Duncan Taylor, who was very, very popular down at Saracens, made his Scotland debut, certainly didn't really hit his stride immediately. And Chris Harris is another great example, actually, if someone comes in, maybe just take a wee while to find your feet. Ross Thompson doesn't strike me as that sort of player. He just seems to take these steps with ease, almost. And I think it's great to have another Scottish 10 option. Obviously, I would go as far as to say that, you're going to hear me say this in the podcast. Obviously Townsend has, based on the 23, you've got Finn Russell. For certain games, you'll have Adam Hastings in that kind of 23. You probably then got Blair Kinghorn for versatility, which is why they've been trying Thompson out at fullback. It's a terrible idea, by the way, just saying. But he's young. And that's the key thing. He's got time in his side. Glasgow will be delighted to have him about, but it does continue to beg the question: why did we waste money on Duncan Weir? I get that the whole experience thing, bringing in an experienced head to kind of guide young Thompson, but it doesn't seem the type that needs that.
Yeah, so I think he. Yes, he may not need. You may not think he needs the guidance, but it's always good to have someone there.
It's always good to have a backup.
And you've always got to have someone. I think he will get a little bit of guidance from Duncan Weir. I think Duncan Weir, he's played for Glasgow, he's played for Scotland, and he's played for an English team, so he knows the pitfalls, he knows the plus points. He played for Edinburgh as well.
He's also played for Edinburgh as well. Speaking of pitfalls.
Yeah, okay, but I have noticed that you did spend about 10 minutes talking about Ross Thompson's re-signing. But anyway, that's a different story. But yeah, I think he'll. Duncan Weir, I think, is we may eventually find out that actually he was a good signing after all, and you may find that further down the line. But I'll tell you one thing: he got Edinburgh out of a lot of sticky situations.
He's got some good stuff out of him once his contract was kind of up for renewal.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's like Sam Hidalgo Klein all over again.
Yeah, Sam Hidalgo. Who?
Exactly. You should genuinely always just have Sam Hidalgo in a 3-month contract, and you would actually have Aaron Smith in your hands. It would be
absolutely.
So that's what we need. Anyway, not to go on more about Ross Thompson, but yes, shall we come to? We were kind of jesting, of course, that the actual big news was Glasgow signing a couple of Scots boys. So, announcement today, Craig.
Is this the John Fletcher announcement you're talking about?
John, yes, of course.
Sorry, I'm just playing. I didn't mean to take this.
It's all right. It's all right. No. Right, let's get serious for a second, because serious things are afoot. So, in an absolutely, we knew this vote was coming, but in it was described on one very rubbish website, maybe slightly west of England, online, as being just groundbreaking piece of legislation that's been put in place. So it was a vote passed today, I believe, 75%, to allow players to return to the country of origin or somewhere they have qualification for, with 3-year stand-down periods. So basically the Olympic sevens loophole, but minus the having to play sevens. And that is active as of January 2022. And the other caveat is you can only do it once, and World Rugby will rule on each application to do so.
Yeah.
I think I've got that right. Am I missing anything, Craig?
I don't think you're missing anything. I think you're pretty much there. I'm sure our comments will light up if we are missing anything. But that seems about right. Also, I think I'm not. I may be completely wrong here, but I think you can't go up a tier. You can only go down a tier.
Ah, right.
Or can you? Or can you go sideways?
Let's pull that up, because let's see what we've got. I'm just having a quick skim through it just to make sure. No, that is not part of the rules.
Oh,
for example, there is mention of in the article I've got in front of me here. There's mention of Alex Olozowski, who played for England in 2018. But is eligible for Italy through his was it parents or grandparents?
Right. Yeah.
So is eligible to play for Italy through a grandparent. So they are mentioning a lot about the possibility of people playing for their second Six Nations team.
Yeah.
Which and actually, I mean, we joked about it before with Finlay Christygate, but the idea of, I think the idea of tiers is quite a strange one, because the tier 1, tier 2 kind of thing, it's always been something we've mentioned, but I don't think it would be fair to not necessarily lock it to that, because then you could have teams who, through various misgivings or progress, move to be tier 1, but in fact they are Fiji, for example, and classed as tier 2. So I don't think they would lock it to that. But yeah, I mean, long and short of it is that the rule's been designed to try and allow. The idea is that tier 2 countries can claim back some of their stars who have maybe went off in search of riches in other nations. It's been met with mixed views, Craig.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a lot of people who have thought it's terrible. There's a lot of people who are thinking it's a great idea, and then there's a few people in the middle that are kind of just, yeah, I don't really know how, I don't really understand it, I don't know how it's going to work. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good thing. I honestly think it'll be something that will allow some of the second tier nations to actually get a foothold a little bit more, get some more money coming through to them. Perform better. So I don't have a fear. The only thing is, as long as World Rugby, who have shown that they have teeth. I thought they were a bit toothless, but they have shown that they have a little bit of teeth when it comes down to Razzie and things like that.
Mr. Erasmus, yes.
Yeah. So as long as they adjudicate it correctly and are not too, it's not used for anybody's what's the word? Anybody's gain, as in.
I was going to suggest nefarious gain.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Then I think it's a great idea, and I'm also now queuing. I think we're all decided to go through all the backlog of international players and have a look to see if Sia Khaleesi actually has a Scottish grandmother, and see who we are.
Well, yes. So I think certainly he's not one. However,
no.
Today's announcement has popped up a couple of interesting characters who may find themselves back in contention to represent Scotland. Again, we're joking about Finlay Christie, but the dream is now alive, guys. We could, if Finlay gets discarded by the All Blacks and spends 3 years maybe topping up a pension fund in France, then Finlay Christie could become eligible for Scotland again, as could Will Jordan, who we would quite happily have, amongst a number of other players. But obviously, we're just kind of taking the mick a wee bit out of the situation, this, because we obviously all joked about Finlay Christie. One of the actual ones that has come up is Jack Dempsey.
He's a Scottish grandmother, does he?
That's right, yeah, and he hasn't played for Australia for quite some time. And because of the way, so obviously Dave Rennie is frantically trying to change the rules for Australia to be able to pick overseas players. I think he has managed it. But so I guess in some ways you got to wonder, like, was Dave Rennie cited on this? Because that seems quite, or was it just that Australia were garbage?
I don't know. Are you talking about his comments?
No, I'm talking about his. So he lobbied when he joined the Australian Rugby Union. He lobbied to change. So Australia had a 60 cap rule, whereby any player playing abroad had to have 60 caps for the Wallabies to be able to continue to represent.
Right, so you're talking. He's wanting to do a Razzie Rasmus with South Africa because he changed the same. He did the same thing, did he not?
Same rule. Now, Rennie did manage to change the same rule, which is why you had certain players coming back for. So you had guys like Will Skelton coming back for the Autumn Internationals. He has managed to change some of it. Now, I'm not sure if it's completely changed or if it was a temporary amendment, but that rule with this type of law changes that rule. I don't think unions can do that anymore.
No, I have no idea, to be perfectly honest. That's a good question, but I think it's as Razzie has shown, and as Scotland has shown, because if you look at Wales brought in the
Only
Was
Welsh
it
policy.
The only Welsh policy as well? England have that as well. You have to play in England. I think fair enough for unions that have a large player pool to choose from. It's not a major issue. But people like unions like Australia, they have got a waning. They've got a lot of competition for professional sport, and I think if they want to become the powerhouse, because everyone thought they were coming up here to the Northern Hemisphere for these autumn tests to show everyone the new Australia, and they did not perform. So I think they need. If it was us and it was Scotland that had the same issue, we'd be screaming for it ourselves, because we would want our players from France and our players from England, etc., to come and play for us.
I guess I was more suggesting that probably it's maybe not. I maybe wasn't clear that it's not that they can't do it; it's that it would be very. It seems like it's bad business to do it, to kind of lock your players down and say, oh, we're only going to pick players if they play in the country. Now, I agree with you. I think England will get away with it because they have X amount of clubs in the Premiership. They've got lots of professional spaces, and they're not that wealthy, but they're wealthy-ish. Australia, probably the allure of playing for one of the 3-4 Super Rugby clubs is probably not as big. So I think I think it's probably there's going to be a change of the way that we kind of understand that traditional relationship between national team and club team. I think, or certainly there's going to be a much looser implementation of laws. I would expect to see England, if there was someone like let's say Owen Farrell or Henry Slade or someone like that was to move, they're probably too old actually. Let's for example use your boy Stewart, who's played fullback for England and seems to be the new messiah for them. If he was to decide to head off and top up his pension for a wee while, I would very quickly expect that the policy for English Rugby Union would change, or he would be picked in an exceptional circumstance. And I think we might see more of that. But we're talking about the big countries. This is obviously in place to kind of really bring back tier 2 players back to their origins, and this has all kind of come about. There was chat from kind of the Pacific Islanders mainly regarding this, and we'd already seen it starting to happen with Tonga, with Fekatua and a couple other boys coming back. They'd qualified through the Olympic Sevens loophole. So I personally, I'm the exact same, Craig. I actually think I'm very much of the let everyone be everyone, and just, if that's what you've decided to do and you're willing to give up 3 years of international rugby, or have already given up 3 years of international rugby, and you want to come back to a country and attempt to represent them, because let's be honest, there's no guarantee that a player who decides, I'm going to stand down, or I've been stood down for New Zealand, there is no guarantee that they are then automatically going to get picked for a Fiji or a Tonga or one of these countries. Now, it's quite likely. We would struggle to see a circumstance when it didn't, but it's not automatic. And I think the other bit that's jumped out at me from this is, people are talking about so how does this grow the game? How does this boost the game in these countries? How does it grow rugby? And people are saying, well, it's players are just going to go back and they're going to take the place of a player who would be playing international rugby. Probably back to your Duncan Weir argument. I can't believe I've just linked the new international residency laws to Duncan Weir, but bear with me a sec. Players like Fekatoa going back to play for Tonga, the lift that gives the players around them, the skills, the wisdom, the knowledge he can impart, but also young fans sitting at home going, we've got a bloody superstar playing for us now. We've got a guy who was at one point considered one of the best centres in the world. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that like players going back to these countries, they will just inspire a bit of enthusiasm, a bit of support for the team.
Yeah, I think you've got the halo effect. I also think it'll allow the players that have maybe been in the past fought over and capped for 1 or 2 caps just to put a shirt on their back and say nobody else can have them. I think it'll allow them to have an international career that they can be proud of, rather than saying, "Well, I was once an international. Oh, how many caps do you get? 1 or 2." And I think you're not going to see, for example, Yako, or in fact, I'm not entirely sure. I don't think you would either see. A lot of people were saying, "Oh, well, that's Duhan going to be gone as well." I don't think you'll see that, but maybe you never know with Yako. You never know with a few other people out there that have had 1 or 2. Mind you, I don't think Paulo Dogu's actually had a cap yet, has he?
No, he hasn't. No.
But you've got these players that can go and play for other teams. And I think for me, I'm all about extending people's careers, getting them as much money as they possibly can for playing this dangerous sport that we enjoy watching.
Completely agree. And let's just address. You've touched on it there, Craig. Let's address the Duhan. Let's talk about the Duhan situation. Now, as you rightly say, some fans have immediately taken this, despite all the other things that they could be talking about with regards to this ruling that's come about. Some fans have taken this as Duhan van der Merwe is immediately going to get his jets on, stand down for Scotland, and take 3 years out of international rugby before qualifying for South Africa in, what are we now, 2021. So after the next World Cup. So let's go through a couple of key points which would maybe suggest this being utter tripe. First of all, he's 26. Okay?
Yeah.
26, stands down for 3 years. He will be 29. Wingers have quite a short shelf life compared to a lot of rugby players because a lot of it's based on pace. He would be 29 going on 30 when he eventually made his South African debut, assuming all of this happens immediately, which is not going to. He also is a player who he's been given a window. He's been given international window to kind of show what he's about. He, from what he's said in the press and what he seems to be saying privately and the messages that have come out, he is very committed to Scotland. He loves playing for Scotland. He loves Scotland as a country. Scotland was the country who gave him a rugby career, is the general message that comes. And I think, I think it shows Scotland's view of themselves, actually, as a nation, that we would immediately assume that a guy who, because I guess there's a point here that Duhan didn't have to play for Scotland. Nobody held a gun to him. Nobody said to him, "Mate, you absolutely need to play for Scotland, or else if you'll not get a contract for Edinburgh if you don't play for Scotland." Edinburgh would have kept him on gladly, even if he decided, "Do you know what? No, I don't want to represent Scotland. I still want to put my hat in the ring for the Saffers. I know I can't qualify for them just now, but I'm putting in some good performances. I'm going to move back to one of the Super Rugby teams, or as soon as the URC turns up, I'm going to go over there and I'm going to try and make one of their teams and see what happens." It's completely and utterly mental for people to think that would be something that would be on his mind, let alone standing down for 3 years, which is an awful look given that you've qualified on residency. I think residency players are going to be, particularly early residency career players who are probably in a situation where they've kind of been given a bit of a second chance, it's going to be a bad look for them. And rugby is a small community.
Mm. I think it's also taking in a fair few assumptions there. First of all, that he doesn't want to go to the World Cup with Scotland.
Right.
Second one, he's going to stand down right away, and it assumes he's going to get picked for South Africa.
The other issue, yep.
If you look at, and this is, he is a giant among men within the Northern Hemisphere rugby. He will then become a normal rugby player if he goes back to South Africa and plays amongst the South Africans that he's with. Because I'm not saying that we haven't got giant wingers, etc. But if you look at, he's made a very good career out of becoming a Scotland international and playing for Edinburgh. Now, okay, fair enough. There's a lot of people who are very bitter about the fact that immediately when he got his residency, he bogged off to Worcester. And I understand that. I was pretty gutted about him leaving Edinburgh myself.
Yep.
But you can't, someone who's gone through the injury woes that he has had and has been the player that he has been, where he was virtually forgotten about in France, he's going to take every opportunity he possibly can. So I think it's as usual. I guess we're kind of feeding off Twitter. We're feeding off a few random comments that are out there. I think if you really put your thinking cap on and actually think it through, I think it's fair enough if he goes to the World Cup for us and then he decides that his international career with Scotland is over. That's fair enough. We've got a World Cup out of him, and he'll have had a fair few caps, and he's got a good chance of getting close to Hoggy's new record as well.
That's exactly it, and I think that's probably a nice way to segue into the kind of review of the Japan game. So, for those of you who haven't seen the result, Scotland beat Japan 29-20 at the weekend. It was it was a thing. It was fairly average. Scotland made a lot of errors. I guess the positive for me, obviously, so probably the biggest positive to come out of it was Stuart Hogg, as we've all predicted for many, many, many moons, has finally overtaken the Scottish try record. He now stands alone as the top Scottish try scorer, with what was a very good try, to be fair.
Yeah.
And actually, I went on to say On Top of the Moon, so Kevin Miller, who writes for the site, I went on to his page, and he had a video list of Stuart Hogg's tries for Scotland. And to be fair, the boy does not score like bang average tries. Every one of them was like, "Oh, that's a worldie! Oh, that's a worldie!" He likes a good try, does our Hogg?
Yeah, and I've been fairly critical of Stuart Hogg on the podcast, and I remain to be so. I do think there are times he's fairly greedy. He won't pass the ball. He slows up in contact when I think he should be accelerating through contact, etc. But on the other side of things, you cannot turn around and say that he cannot score a try. If you look at some of his Exeter tries, if you look at some of his Scotland tries, some of his Glasgow tries, they're outstanding. And he is, and I always remember when Gatland was being interviewed. This was the beginning of Six Nations a wee while ago, and he said, is there any players out with the Wales setup that you would like to have in your team? And the first player he put on his list was Stuart Hogg. Yeah. So, you cannot, no matter what anybody says about Gatland, he's been an exceptional coach, and if he's thought of that way by Gatland, I can't take anything away from Hoggy.
No, exactly. So, it was good to see him get the try. Scotland did make hard work of the overall performance. I thought it was interesting that we seemed to only score off of quite early phase ball, and Japan Japan were vastly improved from where they've been, which was it was good to see. They kind of improved. Everyone had still expected Scotland to spank them, and that didn't transpire. At some points, it was one of those weird games, and I don't know what does this tell us about being Scotland rugby fans, Craig, but for me it was one of those weird games where it never felt like we were going to lose, but it was like, how much are we, like, where's the gap?
Well, that's an interesting one, because I was maybe a little bit more negative than you were, because I actually thought we were going to.
Right.
I just had it in my mind, and I think it started at the beginning of the autumn series, where I was thinking, we're talking about, how are we, what's going to please us? What sort of scores are we going to please? Do we think 2 out of 4? Do we think 3 out of 4? And I actually was more worried about the Japan game than I was the South African game, and I really Japan had possession, and they showed that you don't have to kick the ball and have a game of kick tennis to go forward, and they were quite outstanding that way. My biggest issue, and if we are to if we are to do what everyone has started talking about, and that is he whispers it, win the World Cup. If we are to do something like that, we need to knock the penalties on the head. This is doing my head in. It's ripping my knitting. I've had enough of it. We need to stop the brain dead penalties. And my biggest annoyance, and maybe we'll keep it for hands in the ruck, but not rolling away in a tackle situation.
There's quite a few penalties for that, and
basic.
And I think both sides were actually really guilty of offside, which seems
true. Yeah,
it seemed like so. Not to criticise the officials, but it seemed like there was some decisions that were overly picky.
Yes,
and then on the counter of that, there was at least 4 high shots that were completely ignored.
Yeah,
and you're like, if you're going to be picky, like, if you want to be that guy, in the middle, or want to be that referee that is picky, fine. That is your prerogative, sir. However, get picky with everything and make sure you get a decision right. The one we scored, was it actually the hog try where Chris Harris nearly got decapitated? And it's like, I get, the outcome is that Scotland's going to try, so fine, okay, we probably crack on. But it was a high shot. It was contact to the head. It was reckless at best. So you take another look at that, and there was a couple of inconsistencies which were a bit frustrating. I think overall in the autumn, we'll come to overall in the autumn, because I want to just single out one more player for positivity.
Is it Javan Sebastian?
No, because no, like, if he wants to go and take 3 years off and qualify for Wales, I'm not.
He's welcome.
He's welcome. Please. No, I'd forgotten he was in the squad actually, and he came on, and I was like, oh, who's that prop coming? Oh, come on, no.
Hey, listen, listen. I'm not taking anything away from him. He's a prop, and I've got prop love. So.
He's a prop, and you know what? He qualifies to represent his country, and just shows actually that playing for Ayr is harder than playing for Scotland. So that seems to be the argument that has come from that. So, and all of Ayrshire, you are welcome, because I may have once called you funny names. So the person I want to single out for absolute praise, Chris Harris. He seems to be he's fast becoming the golden child of Scotland rugby. But Chris Harris was on a one-man mission to dismantle as many Japanese attackers as he could. And he wasn't even doing it in the oh, we're just going to tackle, roll, the kind of traditional, you see, wrap the legs down, roll, back in line. He was absolutely smashing people.
Yeah, I think this was it. I think he started smashing people mainly in the second half, and I think he just kind of decided, I've had enough of this, this messing about. Let's get on with it. And I think he thoroughly deserved his man of the match, or player of the match. I was really, really pleased to see his performance. He's been outstanding throughout the whole series, and I really, I'm really pleased for him. I think Johnny McGinty usually says that he usually puts his hand up and says, "I was the first." I was quite nasty about him when he first got his first cap, and to be perfectly honest, so was I.
Yeah,
I was like,
the same.
What are we doing with this guy?
I was the same. Couldn't understand it.
But then he was, if I remember correctly, he came on the wing.
His first cap was on the wing, yeah,
and I think he's found his place at outside centre, and I'm really pleased to see him do well.
He's doing magnificently. And can we also just give a shout out to whoever at the SRU kind of player engagement marketing teams have got people. Really, really, the fan interaction after that Japan game was magnificent, and we've heard so many positive stories. McGinty's got one himself, but we've heard so many positive stories about the interaction the fans have had with the players. My particular highlight was watching Finn Russell walk all the way around the bus as they were leaving. He walked all the way around the bus signing autographs. Most of the players just went straight on the bus. A few boys were handing out cans of the sponsors' lager beer. Chris Harris had a cargo in his under his arm, which just continues to endear me to him. But they done a great job, and the way they were waving at all the fans and making sure everyone felt part of it. I was really impressed. It hasn't always felt like that.
Yeah, I think we went through a stage of the players kind of mentally preparing and then being whisked away at the end of it, and I think we're now seeing. I think having the fans away and playing a lot of games with no fans has made SRU, the players, the coaching staff, etc., realise how much the fans are needed.
It's a really, really good point, actually, Craig. And I think you do forget just how hard it must have been for the players to go through that. We've all played in front of two men in a dug, and to get energy, the difference, just hearing the anthem at the weekend and hearing the actual 67,000 people singing the anthem, and then the kill of the bagpipes, and just how much that must mean to the players. And it was reflected back, which was amazing. So,
absolutely.
Right, we'll do a quick review then of the autumn. And actually, I'm going to simply ask you, 2 positive points and an even better if, we'll call it, because I'm doing this positivity nonsense at work.
Okay.
So we'll call it an even better if. So something Scotland can work on, but 2 positives and something they can work on, and then I would like you to give an overall grade.
Right. Okay. So me first, or are you going first?
Yeah, no, back in the autumn as a whole. So, what went well?
Right. Sorry, for some reason my computer's just gone a bit crazy there. My apologies. So my 2 positive points. Well, we start with the negative or start with the positive?
Whatever you desire to do, Craig. There is no structure here. I'm in charge.
Okay, so we'll go with the positives. I think our new caps. Some of our new caps. So, for example, it was great to see Rufus get his cap, although it was a middle of the road start, but it was good to see him. It was great to see the greatest showman get his cap. I think he's going to be an absolute star, no matter what Johnny McGinty says about him. And yes, he he's new to international rugby, and I totally understand that. But he will come on leaps and bounds. And I think Ewan Ashman has been the find of the century. I think he will. We've got George Turner, Rambo, all have a lot of what's the word? They'll have to be keeping an eye on their backs, because he's going to be around, and he's going to be, especially now with him signing that loan deal at Glasgow, which might turn into a continual deal. I think those that's been fabulous. So was that 1 point or two? Did I give 2 points?
No, I think that was just so the new caps was a positive.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
that's fair. I think if I was to pull out a positive, for me it was the level of attendance, actually, because I was a little bit worried. Obviously, the Tonga game's a bit different because it's outside the window and it wasn't necessarily included in the package that was sold. But the level of attendance at the game was great. The crowd was really, really good. Hearing the roar back. I guess the numbers were brilliant, but I think if Scotland play better, the crowd gets involved more, and there was a little bit of kind of a damp squib about having all those people there and not much to shout about. But it's great to see fans back. So that's the first positive for me.
Yeah, I agree with that one. That's certainly my experience at the South Africa game was absolutely fantastic. I'll say this because Johnny's not here, but the company was great. I really enjoyed being in. It was great to be with my pals. Part of the company was great. And then and the main thing for me, I really, as I've always said and we said on Twitter, etc., I agree at the anthems. I love hearing the anthems. But my second positive, I think, is, and we always see the hope. It's the hope that kills you. Yeah. But I think people are now talking about Scotland again in a positive way, and I think it's great to see Scotland being talked about in not only podcasts but also in the press, also in pundits, by the fan in the street. We're now starting, maybe, I'm not going to get all excited and start saying we're going to be winning World Cups, but I think, we are in a situation where we have the ability to go further nowadays. We have got, I do believe we have, a team, not a once in a lifetime team, but we've got a team that are going to that have the opportunity to win the Six Nations if we cut out our penalties and cut out our mistakes. So there's opportunities there. So that's a positive for me.
Yep. No, that's a really good one, Craig. Thanks. I'm going to bring in, we've said Beetlejuice's name enough times, so he's appeared. Here he comes. Yep. There he is. Hello McGinty.
Hello, how are we doing?
Not too bad, buddy. Just to catch you up where you are, because obviously you'll have been watching the pods whilst you've been skipping off training, doing your stretches and stuff. But we're just doing a quick autumn review actually, and we're just talking about some of what we believe the positives, a couple of the positives, and one kind of work on, or even better if, that Scotland could maybe take away from the autumn. And then I'm going to ask you to give your overall grade for the autumn. So I think I'll allow you, Johnny, because you've just come in halfway. Think about improvement methodology. Think about your even better if for Scotland, and have a think about your grades. And I'll talk about my last positive, and maybe what I think we can work on whilst you have your pondering cap, because I don't want to just bring you in cold, because got to let you get warmed up, because Craig's been dishing it out to you. So so I think the big positive for me, right, we've come away from this series having played two of the top three in the world, and Japan, who beat us the last time we played them, and who by all accounts are a fairly decent side. And we've walked away with a 3 out of 4 wins, which in autumn's gone by, 3 out of 4 wins would have been an absolute, we would have chewed arms, shoulders, and probably half of a torso off to get that. And we'd done it winning ugly. There's no doubt about it. Now, I know there's been a couple of comments about, one popped up here regarding Oh, that's the wrong one. I'll try that one. Magnus Peacock here said you have to wonder how much of Townsend's attack plan was actually Mike Blair's. We looked far less threatening this autumn than in the spring. Now, I think, I agree. We probably did look less threatening, but to a certain extent, we looked less threatening because we made a lot of mistakes. And we were playing right on the edge. Now, if that is an example of respect for our opponents, then great. We seem to be trying things that were a bit different. But ultimately, we did play some very ugly rugby. You know, we scored tries from mauls. We defended like our lives depended on it. We cut loose and scored some fabulous scores, but ultimately a lot of our play was built on very, very solid defence and trying to get a set piece that was misfiring to work.
Mm.
And if you look at the stats, the amount of Scotland ball and the wins we had, the penalties we gave up, you've already mentioned penalties, Craig. We gave up so many penalties. We lost a lot of turnovers. We lost ball on set piece. But we won the matches. And that is not the Scotland way. So for me, that's a massive positive. The negative, however, is can we, as Craig rightly says, get rid of all that, lob it in a bin, and burn it before the Six Nations? Because if we do that against ruthless teams, and I'm saying ruthless, we came up against South Africa. South Africa are ruthless. If we do what we've done in this autumn against Ireland, England, Wales, France, we're going to get crushed, and it's not representative of where Scotland are, because we have so much to give, but we are holding ourselves back with this discipline and set pieces. So
yeah, I agree. I think we had 2 or 3 really good scoring opportunities throughout the autumn series, and our line-out misfired. And we've always had a fairly good line-out. We've always had a fairly good, if we have a missed line-out, there are times that we would say, it would stand out like a sore thumb. But now we're kind of at the point where, is this line-out going to work? And it actually is the other way around. When we win a line-out, it stands out like a sore thumb for me. So I think if we need to, yes, the fast-flowing rugby is fabulous and it looks good, and we've got the backs now. We've got the backs to solve that, to do that. But again, being an old prop, etc., we need to make sure that we're still focusing on the set piece to provide that ball.
Absolutely. Right, Johnny, you've had enough thinking time, pal. What's your work on for the autumn?
Fairly similar and quite related to you guys. I think what we're missing, and it's a shame, it's a difficult one because I don't think it's something you can necessarily work on. I think it's something we need to find, but we don't have a lot of nastiness in the forwards. Like Sam Skinner is probably as close as we've got. Xander obviously likes to throw the handbags around, but he's not nasty about it. Do you know what I mean? He's not Eben Etzebeth or Peter O'Mahony, that sort of. You need someone who's a horrible forward, and I think Scotland just at the moment don't quite have it. And when it does start to get to be an ugly game, you need somebody like that. And I don't think you can just turn around to a forward who we've got at the moment and say, right, you're nasty now. I think someone needs to appear who can do it.
So what you're saying is we need Ryan Wilson back.
We really don't need Ryan Wilson back.
Barbarian Ryan Wilson, thank you very much.
Oh, he had a 23-minute celebration earlier on, Johnny, don't worry. Between him and Ross Thompson, I took up most of the first part of the podcast.
The news was all about Glasgow.
Did you mention Ewan Ashman, by the way, the most exciting bit of news?
Yes,
he was actually the first piece of news.
Just checking.
The headline.
Yeah.
And then something about eligibility laws or something got mentioned as well.
I had a wee sleep while that happened while John was going on.
Oh, you didn't. You were drooling with excitement, and don't you tell it any other way. Right, I completely agree, Johnny. I think there is an element of we need to. There's still that finding it's almost we still feel like the nice guys, and there is. I mean, I would say seeing Peter O'Mahony smile was like amongst the most like terrifying things I've ever seen, and I never want that to happen ever again. And if we could just make that like, it's almost like Johnny Sexton smiling. I don't think it's possible.
Johnny Sexton not moaning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Peter O'Mahony getting picked up on the ref mic going, that's dirty. That wouldn't be like you, would it? That is the definition of a bit rich coming from Peter O'Mahony.
Those in glass houses and all that. Peak irony.
There's a word for that, but we can't use it.
Yeah, we're not quite onto our behind the paywall phase yet. So, grade out of 10 then, just to really complicate things. Greg, how was the autumn?
I'm going to say, for me, judging by the opposition that we had, the performance we had against Japan, and how our friends in Australia really couldn't put themselves together, I think we're a 6 out of 10.
That's
jump on a Ross Ford.
We had a Ross Ford autumn. There we go. I'm getting a title out of this podcast already.
Absolutely, mate, absolutely.
Johnny, where do you lie in that?
I'll push it up slightly and I'll say 7. Just purely because if we'd played Australia in spring instead of autumn, we'd have lost that game.
Yeah.
Like, it would have gone the way of the Wales game, the Six Nations, and we would have lost it when it started to get squeaky at the end. So I think we have improved in that regard. So I'll give us a 7.
Yeah, and I think for having everyone back in the stadium, just seeing some good wins, some squeaky bum time, as you rightly say, Johnny. No one outside of Scotland really thought we should beat Australia because of the results they'd had, and actually, it was. I think the problem I had with it was actually much more comfortable, or it should have been more comfortable than we made it, and that was the case for all the games. I think I'm going to, like, in typical host fashion, I'm going to go straight in between the pairies and just say a standard. It was a 6.5 out of 10. It was a fairly average autumn, but we did get some good wins, and apart from the South Africa game, which is a bit of a blight on it, but it was very predictable, I think we've done very well. So, but I think we should be setting our standards much higher, and that's why it's a 6.5. So that concludes the autumn series. Everyone can now cancel their Amazon Prime memberships, and although
I'm keeping mine going for another month for
free delivery for your Crimbo presents, absolutely. Yeah. So there's also some very good programs on there that I've discussed this in the past, but like it's important. Just check out your subscription, see what you get. There's some really good stuff on there. I'm aware of time, and our folks that are joining us who are not the guys that are kind of trying to get the preview in here before we go premium, and they have to phone up a dodgy line to get us.
I'll talk dirty to you. It's fine.
That's it. Yeah. We'll go.
Is it going to be that voice?
We'll go to our OnlyFans content.
What are you wearing, Johnny?
Right.
Hold these shorts, mate.
I've heard.
These guys just wind it back in for a second. This is the premium content we send.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't give away this stuff for free, right?
All right, no worries.
What you do in the clubhouse is completely up to you guys, right? But quickly touching the URC, the Ultimate Fighting Rugby Championship is back. How have we missed it? Woo woo woo!
Oh, and John's just gone. John. So, bye, John. So, yeah.
How have you missed the URC, Craig?
I have missed the URC. I am looking forward so much to getting back to the Dam. There he is. So, can't wait to get back to the Dam, and we have our club appreciation night back at the Dam next Friday when we play Benetton. Or Treviso, or Benetton Treviso. So can't wait for that. But I think we're away at Dragons this weekend, so I'm expecting a pump. Not us, getting a bump in, but us giving a bump in at the weekend. So fingers crossed.
You are indeed. I managed to click completely the wrong button and just completely remove myself from everything, which was a good effort. And in the excitement of the URC being back, I was just like, click buttons.
I thought it was just me starting to talk about Edinburgh, and you just had to quickly flick that button off and have another.
No, Edinburgh are away at the Dragons, so that'll be really embarrassing when you lose there. No, it should.
I have to say, Club Appreciation Night that Edinburgh do next week is one of the nicest ideas I've heard in quite some time.
Yeah,
I think that's
pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
It is, to give credit where it's due, it is a really sensible and really cool idea. And hopefully the night goes well and you all enjoy yourself. I think, so Edinburgh are up against the Dragons. You would be targeting at least 4 points down there, Craig, yeah?
No, I'm a 5-pointer for down there. I think we should be down there and letting loose. The only issue I have is depending what happens with our Scotland players, because they'll obviously be rested. But I know that Dragons are have got some fairly major scalps over the last few games, so we have to be careful what we wish for. But I'm fully expecting 5 points and a move on.
And in probably what is a season-defining clash for the Italian-Scots rivalry shield, the Pizza Mars Bar Cup, or whatever it's called.
the Deep Fried Pizza Trophy.
The Pizza Crunch Trophy.
Pizza Crunch Trophy. That's exactly what we're calling it.
That is now the Pizza Crunch Trophy. So, in what could be, kind of the game that decides it, actually. No, so
listen to you thinking, flowing so much smoke up a Glasgow's backside. Nice job. Listen, you're playing the Rainbow Cup winners, by the way.
That's right. We are playing the Mario Kart Champion Cups winners. We've got Benetton away, which actually, to be fair, right. So this for me will be a game that defines Glasgow's season, and I'm not over egging that. Actually, I think that's the type of fixture that Glasgow, if they're at all serious about being close to playoffs or competing at any point in this season, it's a game you have to go away, you have to grind out a win, you have to get 4 points and come home. I think in seasons gone by, Benetton would have been a much easier proposition, and obviously people are a little bit worried about it. I just can't get myself worried about Benetton because I've spent so many times on here being wrong about them and saying how bad they are, and I'm going to have to double down on it and go, Glasgow should be going over there and winning.
Well, the good news is I'm worried enough for both of us then, so that's fine.
Good. That's fine. Yeah.
I honestly think any of the three of us, Benetton included, could win the Pizza Crunch Trophy, and going to Benetton in the first game back where we don't know what the story's going to be with our internationals. No, I'm not looking forward to it at all.
We've got Ross Thompson and Josh Mackay. No, we're fine.
Oh, well, when you put it like that, yeah, we'll
Josh Mackay's back. Josh Mackay has arrived in Glasgow. What more doth we need?
I'm more worried about Benetton when you go away than I am when we're home. I think they are getting their game together. They've got when we're talking about nastiness, they've got a fairly nasty forward back.
Yeah.
They've got, and no matter what anybody says, they've got a magician at 10. I think Garbisi is absolutely fantastic.
Very good player, yeah.
Whether he's playing or not, that's a different story.
Is he still there? Has he gone to France yet? I thought, is it the end of this season he's going to France?
I think it's the end of this season. Was he not playing for them last? I might be completely wrong. I apologise if I'm wrong, but
I would like him to be in France already, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Yeah, no, that would be ideal. And actually, if the Italians wanted to rest quite a lot of their internationals after their exploits over the autumn, that would be wonderful.
What I don't understand is why, if they're playing us at home in a week on Friday, or a week on Saturday, or maybe anyway, next weekend, why they're not coming over and playing playing Glasgow and just staying in the middle of the week.
It's a conspiracy, mate. It's a conspiracy.
That's what it is.
It's Edinburgh bias.
Because we know how poor Glasgow are away in Italy, so I suppose
it's an Edinburgh bias. The SRU pick the fixtures. Right, I'm joking, of course. No, don't write me.
It's Big Al sitting there going, right, actually, I want to play Benetton away. That's what he's decided.
We are going to sort them right out, and then those Edinburgh boys, they're going to get pumped at home, and we'll be like, look at us, mate, we are brilliant. That's exactly how it's going to go. Yeah, so obviously we're just kidding. I think Glasgow, it'll be a really good game actually, and if both teams can play some attacking rugby, it'll be really nice. Hopefully both pro sides get a win at the weekend.
Fingers crossed.
Because I would like the 1872 to be actually the Pizza Crunch Trophy decider. But we shall see. I guess that was a whistle-stop tour of the URC being back. We all know Leinster are going to win it anyway. So let us call it at that for our free content. I'm now going to look. I'm looking at you guys, but I'm actually looking over here because I'm trying to figure out which ones of them I switch off now.
Staring into your eyes, John.
And you get staring at my eyes. That's it. I've got gorgeous eyes as well.
He's been